Hi, in this video I'm going to explain to you the basics of Pilates. So if you're new to Pilates, you're in the right place. If you've done Pilates before, it can be a great reference point for you to come back and check on your technique. So let's start with the core. You've probably heard people talk about the core. It's made up of two muscles, the pelvic floor muscle and the transversus abdominis muscle. So let's take them one at a time. The pelvic floor muscle. Firstly, most people don't even know they've got one, particularly guys, but you do. So the pelvic floor muscle, it is shaped like a sling and it runs under the body, holding all internal organs in place, which is a good thing. It runs vertically up the front of the body towards the belly button. So to tighten that muscle, it's that same feeling as if you've just jumped into a freezing cold swimming pool on a freezing cold day and you go, oh, shouldn't have done that, and you feel everything pull up. That's that muscle. The other muscle is the transversus abdominis muscle. It travels around the body in a horizontal way. So I say tightening that muscle is a bit like when we're putting on our tight jeans and we're trying to do up the last button, trying to pull those hip bones towards each other. So when I'm cueing this during our exercises, I'll call it cold pull, tight jeans. Let's see how we go with it. Come down onto your mat. Lie on your mat with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, hip distance apart. Take your fingertips and find the top of your hip bones. Then take them just inside your hip bones and you'll feel the pelvic cavity fall away. So keep your fingertips there. And now let's try and tighten the pelvic floor muscle. So imagine you've just jumped into a freezing cold swimming pool on a freezing cold day and you go, shouldn't have done that. And you feel those muscles tighten underneath your fingertips. Doesn't matter if you don't though, because as they strengthen, you will. Now, let's try and tighten that tight jeans muscle. So while your fingertips are still in place, let's try and do up the last button on the tight jeans as if you're trying to pull your hip bones towards each other. You'll probably feel some tightening underneath your fingertips this time. Okay, now let everything go loosey-goosey and relax it all. Okay, let's start again and tighten both of those muscles at the same time. So pelvic floor first, cold pull, and now tight jeans. Good. You shouldn't move any other part of your body. It should just be those muscles. Let's do that one more time. Relax it, go all loosey-goosey. Okay, now inhale and cold pull, tight jeans. Good. Turn it on to about 100%. And now pull it back to about 30%. And that's where it needs to be during all the exercises of Pilates. It's also where it needs to be all day, every day. So turned on, but not so that you're going to feel exhausted at the end of the day. See, the good thing about Pilates is that it's a fundamental exercise. By tightening those core muscles and having them turned on during the day, they're ready to help out and help the body no matter what action you do. That's why they're called the core. So these muscles are in the center of the body because they help everything that happens below or above it. It's a fundamental exercise. Okay, let's move on to the pelvis now. Back onto your mat. Okay, when we're exercising, we need to keep our pelvis neutral. Now, by saying that, means it's flat across the top. Here's how we're going to find neutral, because it's different for everybody. Get your fingertips and place them together, and then your thumbs, place them together so it's a diamond shape. Place that diamond shape on your pelvis by putting your fingertips on your pubic bone and the heel of your hands on your hip bones. So the diamond shape is now on top of your pelvis. Okay, so now sink your back into the mat and you'll notice that your fingertips are higher than your thumbs. Now, tilt your pelvis the other way so you're arching your back and you'll notice that your thumbs are higher than your fingertips. Bring it back to somewhere between the two, about halfway. Look down and they should be flat, the same height as each other. Okay, that's your neutral pelvis. It's different for everyone, so just get to know what's right for you. You'll notice that you've probably got a little arch underneath your back. That's your natural arch, and that's okay. So during our Pilates exercises, we usually will work with a neutral spine. However, sometimes when we're lifting both feet off the mat, our back needs a little bit of extra support, and that's when we use imprinted spine. For imprinted spine, we tighten the core, so cold pull, tight jeans, and then draw our belly button towards our spine, and then feel like we're drawing our back muscles a bit closer towards the mat. So you're not actually tilting your pelvis to take your back down to the mat. You're just drawing your back muscles down towards the mat. They may not reach the mat, that's okay, but you should feel like they're pulling down, and that's going to give your back a little bit of extra support when we take our feet off the mat. Okay, that brings me to tabletop while we're here. So tabletop is when we do take our feet off the mat. Okay, so we're going to inhale, cold pull, tight jeans, imprint the spine, drawing the back muscles towards the mat. Keep it there. Take one leg up so that the shin is parallel to the floor, and then take the other leg to match it. Good. So you'll notice that your legs look like a tabletop, hence the name. Lower one foot and then the other. It can be quite tricky if your core muscles are quite weak or if your abs are weak, and you'll notice that when you try to do it, your abs might pop up or you might arch the back. Be honest with yourself. If that is happening, that's okay. Just keep your feet on the mat with the exercises that are taking the legs to tabletop, because you can still perform the exercise with the feet on the mat just as well, and as your ab muscles and core muscles get stronger, you'll be able to then progress to tabletop. Okay, moving right along, I'm coming to your ribs. Okay, so some of us have very flared ribs, or we tend to arch the back. This is just an indication that our oblique abdominal muscles are weak. Now, to strengthen those, we need to keep those ribs closed down. So imagine that you've got a piece of elastic attached to the base of the ribs and the top of the hips. You actually do. It's called your oblique muscles. Now, by shortening the distance between the ribs and the hips, you're closing the ribs down. If you are new to closing your ribs down, in fact, if you do flare your ribs or arch your back, then to help with that, let's try a big exhale. So inhale through your nose and do a big exhale. You'll notice that to get that big exhale, your ribs will push down on your lungs to send the air out of your lungs. So that's the easiest way to start the closing down of the ribs. So let's give that another go. Just go all loosey-goosey again. Inhale through your nose. Do a big exhale. And keep your ribs right there. Feel that tightening on the muscles between the ribs and the hips. They're your oblique muscles. They'll be your new best friend. Okay. That brings me to breathing. In Pilates, we breathe slightly differently because we breathe and use the breath to help us exercise. So, let's take the fingers again, place them on the rib cage. Fingertips just touching each other. We're going to inhale through the nose and try and make the ribs go sideways to breathe. So it's diaphragm breathing. You've probably heard about diaphragm breathing. I think opera singers do that. So it's different to yoga breathing. If you're used to yoga, yoga is usually belly breathing where you relax the abdominal muscles, and that's exactly why we do diaphragm breathing in Pilates, because we want to keep those abdominal muscles tight. So keep those fingertips touching each other. Inhale through the nose and send the breath into the sides and back of the lungs, as if you're trying to put the breath down onto the mat. you'll naturally feel your ribs try to go sideways and your fingertips will come apart. Then exhale through the mouth. You'll feel your ribs close down and your fingertips come back together. So it's inhale through the nose, sliding the ribs apart, and exhale, bring those fingertips back. Good. Let's try it with your core muscles turned on. So inhale, cold pull, tight jeans. Exhale, keep the cold pull, tight jeans. Again, keeping the cold pull, tight jeans turned on still. Inhale. Are they still turned on? And exhale. Good. Okay. The last two things I want to mention to you is your shoulders and your chin. So your shoulders should be relaxed because they can get quite hyperactive and join in with a lot of exercises and a lot of activities during the day. We're constantly walking around with our shoulders up around our ears. Let them relax, give them some time off. So think about your shoulders sliding down and towards each other in a V shape. Good. And then with your chin, just keep it knotted in. So not so hard that you're trying to hold an orange underneath your neck, like in one of those 1970s party games, just so that you've seen me across the room and you're just nodding to say hello. Okay, so just nod in, just slightly, keeping your chin knotted in. That just prevents it from sticking out and using the muscles down the back of the neck instead of the ones at the front. So let's do a quick recap. Core muscles, cold pull, tight jeans. Pelvis, either neutral with that slight natural arch underneath and the pelvis quite flat, or imprinted spine where you're drawing your back muscles down onto the mat. Keep the ribs closed down, shortening the distance between the ribs and the hips, shoulders relaxed, and your chin tucked in. Does that feel unusual to you? That's actually normal posture. So that's going to be your new normal. Don't worry if you can't remember to do all that during the exercises, because I'll be cueing you during the exercises and I'll keep reminding you. So now let's put it to the test. So we'll do a couple of exercises here just so that we know how to activate them while we're working. So inhale, tighten the core. Cold pull, tight jeans. Exhale, we're going to start with tabletop. Take one leg to tabletop and then take the other leg to tabletop. Good. Lower one leg and then lower again. Don't forget to imprint the spine. So inhale, cold pull, tight jeans. Draw those muscles down to the back. Exhale, take one leg and then the other leg to tabletop. Careful not to prop the abs. Inhale to lower one foot and then the other. Good. So now we're going to test the ribs to keep them sliding down to the hips. So inhale, tighten the core, cold pull, tight jeans. Exhale, take your hands to the ceiling and then overhead. Now, if your hands are overhead and your back is arching, then you've let those oblique muscles go and your ribs are flaring. So let's try that again. Inhale, tighten the core. Exhale, take the hands to the ceiling. Keep the short distance between the rib and the hip and take the hands overhead. Careful not to arch the back. Inhale, hands to the ceiling. Let's go overhead one more time. Exhale, overhead. Inhale, hands to the ceiling. Let's do one more. And exhale, overhead. Bring the hands to the ceiling because we're just going to check the shoulders now. So inhale, lift the hands a little further to the ceiling. Exhale, bring the shoulders back down onto the mat. You'll feel those shoulder blades slide down and towards each other. Inhale to lift the hands up to the ceiling. exhale, slide those shoulder blades together and the shoulders come down onto the mat. Let's do 2 more. Inhale to lift and exhale to lower. Now be careful not to use too many muscles. Don't use the whole body, just to lift the hands high to the ceiling. And exhale to lower down. 1 more for good measure. Inhale, reach for the ceiling, and exhale, shoulders down onto the mat. Lower the hands, and you're ready to start exercising. See you on the mat.